Well, today we're going to start a new project. Today we are going to build a butcher block island, and it's going to be various woods. It's going to be very unique. Less of just a simple pattern, but more of a piece of art where we're going to culminate various hardwoods. We have maple, here's the maple. Let's see here. We have some birch, just a little bit of a softer hardwood, but it will work. This piece right here. We even have some ipe, which we'll have to kind of treat a little more carefully. It has a natural oil that can prevent bonding, so we'll have to figure that one out. Black walnut, of course. We do have a little bit of white oak, which I don't suggest for direct contact on food, on cutting boards, but this island is not going to be a cutting board. It's going to be an island, so I think it'll be okay. And other species. Walnut, maple. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But I'm going to walk through all the steps of planing this out, trimming strips, gluing it up, and then doing the finish work. So, hope you guys enjoy the video.
Now begins the long process of planing, rip cutting, and trimming. Yes, lots and lots of planing. Took me quite a while. There was many boards to create this piece. I wasn't glue lamming, just a handful, but I was really staggering quite a few pieces. And what made this really challenging is all of my wood is salvaged. So there's quite a bit of flaws or challenges that I have to face in terms of getting this down to square and flat stock.
All right, all the planing and trimming has been done. We have our final sticks for this glue up. We're just trying to pattern this out to be pretty random. We're going to review it with the customer. It's going to be a very organic, random style. So not a whole lot of patterning, just a unique blend of various species.
One thing that's interesting about ipe is that it has a natural oil, and what I've read is that it's difficult to get good bonding with typical wood glue. And so in order to remove some of that oil, use acetone to prep the surface, and then the bonding should be fine.
Next step is to go through each of these sticks and just check them one last time for debris. Then we're going to set them in here in the finish room, and we're going to do the glue up. So I bought a roller for these large glue lamps. It's good to have a roller, and I use 3 or type 2, but 3 is great. So nothing wrong with type bond 3. And we're gonna raise the temperature in here. So right now it's 50, it needs to go up. So it's set manual, and in the high 60s or low 70s is fine. But we definitely want good cure of the glue. And the glue lamb is ready. So we've put glue down on all these planks. We're gonna flip them, and then we're going to clamp it up real fast. So I gotta go. Gotta get this going before everything sets. All right, the glue lamb's done. Yes, there's a lot of glue on here. I am very liberal with this glue. I just want to make sure there's no dry joints, and all the excess had just kind of smoothed out. It's really hard doing so many sticks at the same time for fear of glue setting up. Doing something like this again, I may very well do it kind of in sections. It's just super hard to get the glue spread out and then locked in and then clamped up. There's only such a long working window with this glue. So moving forward on these, I think I may do them in sections and then glue lam those sections together, kind of sub-assemblies. But anyway, I'm gonna let this set up overnight and come back to it tomorrow or in a couple days here. And then it'll be time to start planing it.
So now the glue's set up, and now we're gonna throw it on the CNC for some planing. Now I did run several passes to get this done, but I had extra material, but this just guaranteed a really flat product at the end that hit our exact thickness, no problem. So you can just see me going back and forth, just running those passes, and I flip it and do the same thing. One thing I'll say is this was just a rough planing operation. Later I'm going to show in the video the final planing was done at Creative Woodworking Northwest. Now it's time we trim the edges down to the final length. I will say that having a track saw would have been much better, but this is what I had available. I did invest in a Festool track saw following this project. It's going to give me a much cleaner cut on future projects. I went ahead and used my hand planer to really get the sides really cleaned up and down to that precise width that we wanted to meet the customer needs. And I'm just doing some sanding so that just that final cleanup to get really clean edges. Now here's a look at the countertop after I've done some fill with CI glue and 5-minute epoxy to fill in knots and voids, and just the rough planing operation as we go into the next steps. Here I'm belt sanding to knock down ridges from the CNC planing. The next step was to take this piece to Creative Woodworking Northwest, where they have a 50-inch Costa drum sander with a built-in planer. This saved me a lot of time on sanding because on the CNC you end up with a lot of ridges. And I just really wanted a super flat, really nice finish. Following the planing, we're just cleaning it up with a mineral spirits to prepare it for the finish.
So the product we're going to use to finish this butcher block countertop is Waterlox, the universal tongue oil sealer, and then when we're done with that, after that seal, we're going to finish it with the H2OLOX. Apparently this finish is really good for a water situation like a countertop. So it really seals the wood really well. And I'm a bit concerned about maybe water rings or any kind of issues in the kitchen. So I chose to go with this finish over, say, a hard wax oil finish like a Rubio. So anyway, I'm just dousing the rag and wiping it in, kind of like a hard wax oil finish. Yeah, I'm gonna throw some gloves on and continue to finish this out. And then in 4 hours, we're going to flip it. And then because this wood has higher tannins, the walnut and a little bit of oak, they suggest going with 2 coats versus just the one. And following that, like I said, we will go with the H2OLOX. So without further ado, we're gonna finish the second half of this first side and just get it in here and then quickly buff off the excess material. Well, we've given this finish, this first coat, 4 hours to dry, and it looks really beautiful. It's super uniform. It's pretty matte. So this is just the sealer coat, the UT, Universal Tongue Oil Sealer. So we're gonna do one more coat on the top, and then tomorrow we'll come back and we'll start working on the bottom. But yeah, it's starting to really turn out beautiful. The grain is really getting picked up. Give you a kind of a zoom in. This thing's got a lot going on. Okay, so I applied that second coat, and a couple minutes here, we're going to buff it off, and then we'll be on to the next step. And here is that butcher block countertop after the second coat has been polished off. This is just the sealer, once again, but it's looking real pretty. It's kind of got a satinous luster, but real uniform. Those grains are super cool. This is birch right here. They came from my front yard. It was caught up in the septic. And we got some maple from, let's see here, Battleground area or Vancouver, I think. Black walnut, also local. And we even have some boat remnants, the ipe. See that right here? That's ipe, which came from a boat. So this is kind of a cool piece. Also some ipe right here and even here. So this piece has got a lot of cool history to it. And that's how I do my pieces here at Reclaim. The pieces have a lot more interest and story than you'll get from a lot of other fabricators. So there it is. So now we're going to move on to the H2OLOX, and the customer wants it in a matte finish. That product right there. And this will be a little more involved. I got to kind of trowel it on with this sponge brush thing, pad. So we'll see how that goes next. So first of all, we're going to wipe this down with the mineral spirits to clean it off really good and just get a really good surface for adhesion. So wipe that down, and then we'll begin application of this final finished product. So a lot of the tips I took directly from Waterlox themselves on how to do this. You definitely don't want to go too thin and reduce the material that you apply too much. You want a nice, smooth, fluid, milky kind of surface across the whole thing. So somewhat liberal on this, but you want just a nice clean coat across the whole thing. And so I'm just troweling back forth. And when it's all done, you'll see I'm gonna do that final pass across the whole thing where I do just nice straight lines and just checking where my pad is ending so I don't drip off the edge too much. That's really critical with this finish. It's a little bit temperamental if you don't do it right. Well, we're on to the next step. So the first coat is done for the H2OLOX. We're gonna sand this down with a 400 grit with the mineral spirits, kind of like a wet sand. And then we're gonna polish it with a 600. Waterlox suggests using like a Scotch-Brite. I don't have that, but I think we're gonna be just fine with the 600. So we'll get that final polish. And then we're gonna come back and do our second coat of the H2OLOX. And some people may not finish the bottom side, but I'm gonna go ahead and do that for this customer. I'm gonna take it the extra mile and run the same process, 2 coats of H2OLOX on the back side. So yeah. Here I'm going to do one last wet sand to perfect the surface.